All right, so for this video, I'm going to talk about how I notice how people today, and I think people throughout history have always had this, but people today don't care about whether or not something is true. People don't care about whether or not something is factually correct. People don't care about whether or not something has truth to it, whether or not it's right or wrong. People care more about whether or not something makes them feel good and whether or not something is like acceptable. It's like whether or not it's socially acceptable, and you see this with the whole like woke movement, like in politics, which is like everything. If you bring up all the offensive stuff, if you bring up crime statistics, if you bring up like Jewish influence in politics, media, and finance, if you bring up like bell curve stuff, like if you bring up all like, just like all the offensive stuff, like all of the statistically backed stuff that's factually correct, but all the stuff that's offensive, right? Like the way that a leftist argues, or a way that like the woke mob argues, is that they essentially argue about how offensive you are, or they argue about how off-putting you are. Whenever you argue about something, they never attack the factual correctness of your argument. They never attack the logical soundness of your argument. They always call you, so like they always call you names, and they say that you're offensive, that you're a misogynist, that you're a racist, that you're an anti-Semite, that you're like this, that, and the other. They never um they never attack like whether or not it's right or wrong, because that's not what their epistemology is. Like that's not what their foundation of truth is. Like their system of truth is how stuff makes them feel. That's how like the normie thinks, is like how something makes them feel, whether or not it makes them feel good. And they measure like they don't measure things based on whether or not they're true. They measure things not only based on like whether or not it makes them feel good, but they also measure it based on like how acceptable it is, like how like basically is it in line with like the middle of the bell curve. Is it socially acceptable to say, how offensive is it, how acceptable or how unacceptable is it. Oh, you can't say it like that, right? Yeah, it's like, even if you speak the truth, right? Yeah, people who are truth tellers are punished in this world, right? Anytime you tell and the more truth something has, the more violently the normie or the NPC reacts, because yet again, like their system of truth is not about truth. Their system of truth is how it makes them feel, how acceptable it is. Like they have to, like every one of like the normies' opinions has to align with everyone else. Like they have to be in the middle of the Overton window, and that is like their system of truth. And speaking of like the whole like whether or not it makes them feel good, like it reminds me of like the new age movement as well, which is like the new age movement is something that I have beef with the new age movement. It's something that I attack on my channel a lot, because a lot of like the new agers have the same sort of view on life. It's like everything's all love and light. Everything's love and everything's good and everything's all butterflies and unicorn farts, right? But and anytime you bring up like the prison planet, anytime you bring up the Loosh farm, anytime you bring up like the evils in nature, right? Like it's like they ignore that, and they say, oh, but it's all for the highest good. It's all for the it's all to help us learn lessons, right? And it's like these people have like a Disney Channel sort of like they have like a Disney movie level view of reality. It's like that, like it's almost like whenever people like say like, oh man, I love nature, nature's so beautiful and pure, and kind of, and then like the you have animals ripping each other's throats out in the background. You have like birds. You have like baby birds trying to push each other out of the nest as like a competitive advantage. That's something that baby birds do. Is that they push each other out of the nest as like a form of eliminating competition. You have like the birds, oh, the birds are tweeting. You know why they're tweeting? Because they're trying to mate and reproduce before they die, possibly, most likely a horrible death, right? And it's almost like the normie view of like nature is like it's like they go out in nature all barefoot in the grass for like 10 minutes, and then as soon as they get too hot, and as soon as like the mosquitoes come out, or as soon as like the fire ants start biting them, they go back inside to like the air conditioned home that they live in, right? And so it's almost like everything has to have like this sort of sugar coated view. It's like, yet again, because a lot of the times the truth is uncomfortable. A lot of the times the truth hurts, and so a lot of what the normie does, what the NPC does, is that they essentially sugarcoat everything, or they sugarcoat it so much that it becomes just a flat out lie. They try to sugarcoat everything, with they try to sugarcoat bullshit. They try to sugarcoat the bullshit that is this reality in order to make everything okay, in order to make things that are okay not okay, or no, in order to explain the things in this reality, in order to explain the evils in this reality that are not okay. They try to make it okay by like this sort of like this Disney Channel, happy ending, sort of mentality. It's almost like if you look at like YouTube channels like DBDR, Rehab Room, where you have like the 6 foot tall Henry Cavill looking dude who's like, oh dude, just be confident, bro. It's all about confidence. It's just your personality, right? Whereas like people don't want. Yet again, that's like a Disney Channel view of reality. It's like they watched the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and they saw Quasimodo, and they think that that's how reality works. Like people treat you based on how you look, right? And I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's wrong. But like that, yet again, that's it's an uncomfortable truth. It's an uncomfortable reality, and normies will react to this, with backlash. They'll react to this with this idea that like, oh, but you just need to be confident. You just need to go to the gym and self improve, bro. Right. Meanwhile, that if you know who Jeremy Meeks is, right? Like he's like someone who assaulted a 16-year-old. I believe he like physically assaulted a 16-year-old girl. I don't know if it was a 16-year-old girl or whatnot, but Jeremy Meeks is this guy who's like his mugshot went viral because of how like attractive he looked, and now he has like a modeling career. So yeah, like yet again, like is the people who look attractive, who are blessed with good genetics, they can assault a 16-year-old girl or a 16-year-old teenager, and they can just get their mugshot go viral, and they can have a modeling career. Without any virtue, without any, it's like, oh, but the good guy wins in the end, right? Like this idea of karma, or like, oh, but karma will get them, right? Like, nobody escapes karma, right? Like be the bigger person and walk away, right? So that is like one thing that I noticed is like the sugar coating that a lot of people have on this prison planet, where it's like instead of acknowledging the reality of this prison planet, instead of acknowledging like the energy harvesting that goes on in this loosh farm, instead of acknowledging the natural evils, right? Like if think about like a woman's periods and pregnancies, like having to go through all that physical pain, having to eat other organisms in order to survive, right? The existence of physical pain, of death, that is all I believe unnatural. In this, I believe we're living in sort of a distorted, bizarro reality, right? But the NPC and the normie, they'll explain it away with some sugar-coated new age. We're all gonna hold hands and sing "Kumbaya," and it's actually all for the highest good. It's all for the high, like all those kids that get kidnapped to the private islands, and they get raped, right? Like it's all for the highest good. It's all for the Earth is a school to learn lessons, right? It's like that mentality pisses me off, right? But then you also have not only like the whole like basing your reality on like emotions, whether or not it makes you feel good, but it's also like a lot of people will judge things based on how socially acceptable they are, right? And this is a thing that I've noticed within myself, which is that I've almost like sort of fallen for the propaganda that I see, where people are explaining how this is offensive and that's offensive, and because of the fact that you know I'm a sort of a logical thinker, I'll come up to logical conclusions, and then I'll feel gaslit to go against the stuff that I logically conclude because it's not socially acceptable. And I've noticed recently that I've been censoring my own inner monologue because I say things that are offensive, right? In my own head. And so I need to reverse that. I need to stay away from like the sort of normies view of reality, which is like you have to measure what you believe and what you say based on how acceptable it is. And if you pull up black crime statistics, if you pull up if you read Talmud quotes, um if you bring up all these things, then it's like it's offensive. Oh my gosh, he said this offensive thing, right? Even though it's based in reality, even though it's based in logic, even though it's based on factual information, even though it's true, people will judge you for being offensive. People will judge you for being or for not conforming to the sugar coated new age Disney movie normie view of reality, right? So that is something that I think we need to go, or that I can only speak for myself here, that I need to go away from, is I need to go back to judging things based on whether or not they're true, not based on how it offends people, not based on how how people take it. What if people take it the wrong way? I think I need to learn how to let people take it the wrong way whenever I say things. Um, because like, I mean, like if you care too much about what other people think, you will get into a mindset of reality that is based on falsehoods, right? Like, if you let people, sort of bully you into believing lies because it's a comfortable lie, because it's an acceptable, yet again, the how acceptable a worldview is. If you let people bully you there, then you're going to be led further away from the truth, right? And it's the same thing whenever I used to, like whenever I started questioning my parents' religion, whenever I started questioning, okay, is Jesus really the good guy? Is are all these Abrahamic religions, like, is God really the good guy in this realm? Right, or is this realm designed by an evil being that wants to harvest our energy? Right, like whenever you start to question that, there are people who come out of the woodwork to sort of rip you apart on these matters, and they say and yet again, like their view of reality is not whether or not it's true. Is it based in truth? Is it logically correct? Is it logically sound? It's based on that. And like same thing with the new age. Like anytime I criticize the new age, anytime I criticize like the whole we're here to learn lessons, anytime I criticize people's spirit guides, so-called spirit guides, who are actually demons meant to confuse you, sent to confuse you, sent there are archons that are sent to get you off your path. Anytime I criticize like the whole reincarnation process, where it's like, oh, you have to pay back your karma. Anytime I say oh, karma's fake and gay because pedophiles run the world, anytime I say that, there's people that come out of the woodwork because I'm threatening the way that the whole unicorn farts new age makes them feel. Yet again, it's a threat to the feelings. It's a threat to the emotions. It's a threat to how acceptable and how sugar coated people try to make this reality. And that is something that I've noticed, is that why aren't more people questioning this reality? Why don't more people question this prison planet that we're living in? Is I think that's because a lot of religions and a lot of, like, especially the new age, but also the Abrahamic religions, like, they glorify the suffering that happens in this realm. They glorify it, and they say, I mean, look at the book of Job, right? People look at the book of Job as like a good thing, which is like so weird, man. So it's like God basically tortures a guy for fun, or he tortures a guy because of a bet that he made with like the devil or whatever in the Bible, right? So it's like anytime you question that, so like every religion, every like the new every mainstream spiritual movement, where it's about crystals and chakras, and it's all about love and light, and like the tunnel of light is good. You should go into the tunnel of light because you're gonna learn. You're oh my god, I'm sorry, sorry for saying. It's you're gonna learn so much from your ascended masters and your spirit guides and all this other stuff, right? Like a lot of like a lot of the stuff here, a lot of like the programs in this realm are meant to sort of sugarcoat the reality. A lot of it's sugar and gold spray paint onto the excrement of this reality. And yet again, like a lot of truth is uncomfortable because so much of the truth has been sugar coated and normalized as like, oh, it's a good thing that we're reincarnating here to work a 9 to 5 and to pay rent. It's like, oh, it's actually a good thing because Earth is a school, or like, oh, suffering brings you closer to God, and look at the book of Job. He's God's greatest servant, and you need to go through trials and tribulations because trials and tribulations make you stronger. Yeah, right? It's like that, like the glorification of suffering, the glorification of trauma. Looking at like the structure of nature, where like animals are eating each other and dying in horrific ways. The fact that we have to eat and consume other organisms in order to survive. Right? You look at that basic structure; it's so normalized. Like people don't even question it. People don't even ask questions about it because people have the sugar coated Disney Channel view of everything in reality. And so that is an interesting thing that I've noticed, is that people don't people's beliefs, overwhelmingly, the normies, the NPCs, their belief system is not one of truth. It's not one of looking at the brutal truth, looking at the reality. It's one of like how socially acceptable it is, so they don't step on. It's like the constant walking on eggshells is so exhausting, man. So you're constantly walking on eggshells and having to add 1,000 caveats to the things that you're saying. It's like the walking on eggshells, making sure that everything you say is peer reviewed for media literacy, and that it's socially acceptable, so you don't get doxxed, right? It's like that type of stuff. But then it's also like if it doesn't make you feel, you know, all warm and fuzzy inside, then it's like people avoid it. People don't talk about it if it doesn't make them feel warm fuzzies, right? And if you chase that warm fuzzy feeling, then you're going to get deceived by archons. You're going to be deceived by the tunnel of light. You're going to be deceived by the new age lies that say, you know, everything's all love and light and it's all good, and like actually all the evil stuff that happens in this reality, it's actually a test. It's a test, and Earth is a school, and you need to pass the test by turning the other cheek and becoming a martyr, because that's what good people do. Is they sit down and they become a doormat. That's what good people do. That's what the ascended masters do. That's what, you know, like that's what the holy men do. That's what the saints do, right? So like, and so that is something that I think we need to, you know, go away from. I think, you know, we need to measure reality based on truth, not whether or not it makes us feel, you know, warm fuzzies inside. Not We shouldn't, you know, chase things that make us feel butterflies and unicorn farts. We shouldn't chase, you know, applause from, you know, the majority of people. We shouldn't, you know, measure things based on how acceptable they are. We should measure things based on how true they are. And if they're true, who cares what people say? Like, truth is truth, right? You know, no matter how people say that, oh, it's offensive. What you said was offensive. It offends me, right? Yet again, like, look at the system. Look at the system of truth that they're using. They're not using a system of truth. They're using a system of feelings. It's about how it makes them feel. It's all about how it triggers the emotions. I'm triggered. I'm a victim. I'm this and that, and it's all based on feelings. It's not based on whether or not something is true. It's all based on, and this is another thing in the new age, which is like, oh, there's your truth and there is no the truth. It's that's your truth and that's my truth and that's his truth, right? And that is like another demonic psyop, which is like, oh, it's your truth and my truth and his truth and that truth, instead of the truth, right? Because yet again, it's all based on emotions, and everyone has their own truth, right? Like, that leads to confusion. That leads to more and more confusion about what this reality is, about what the nature of things. And yet again, that is based on emotions. It's not based on the truth. It's not based on fact. It's not based on, you know, critical thinking. Oh, okay, is this really how things are? Is it, are things are the way they are because they're good, or is it like questioning religions, questioning the new age doctrines, questioning authority, right? Nobody does that. It's all about how acceptable something is, whether or not it makes them feel good, and whether or not it's their truth, right? Which is a new age, you know, psyop, right? So we need to go back to truth. We need to go back to, you know, true or false, not does it make me feel good or not, right? But yeah, that's the video.